voices. Yeah. There we go.
That's an interesting way to start it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about whether Trump's being a pussy with Putin and why. Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm.
So as everybody knows this week, Trump came up did a whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Where, they did the meeting with Putin. And he came, go ahead.
Yeah.
And he...
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then he came out and he was all like, but Mr. Putin didn't say that there was, his people did it, and I trust him over the intelligence community. And then the next day he's all like, well, I said wouldn't, and I didn't mean to say would, like that type of shit. And I want to get down to why that was the case, okay? Was it purposeful or not, first off? That's the first question I have for you. Did he really mean to say that, he couldn't see any reason why Russia would have interfered in our election? Or did he, as he did with his backtrack, mean to say wouldn't?
Well, an easy way to determine that would be to read the information as if it said wouldn't and see if there's any discrepancies. So do you have a thing that he said?
Yeah, I'm sure I could find this. Let me see. Although I'm pretty sure I remember it.
So if you add wouldn't into this statement, or I don't see why he would not, and then it's a reasonable argument that that's something that happened.
All right. So, let me see if I can find the actual statement. All right, so the original sentence was, I don't see any reason why I would, or, hold on, that ain't good. Okay, hold on. I see what he meant to say, but I'm not finding what I thought it would be obvious, but I would like to clarify just in case it wasn't. In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. Trump said in a statement that seemed blah, 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 blah. The president continued. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't or why it wouldn't be Russia. Sort of a double negative, so you can put that in, and I think that probably clarifies things pretty good by itself. Does that make sense to you?
Okay. I should have clarified. So he's claiming that the speech he said the previous day, the single point in it, where he said would, right?
Yeah.
So if we change and add what he said, does it then continue to make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does continue to make sense. So there is a good chance that he could have just misspoke here. But it also seems like it was a complete bullshit backpedal.
Well, hold on. The second point would be is if he's ever said if he's ever suggested that it could be Russia.
No, yes he has. And that's another thing. He has suggested before that it could be Russia, but not while he's sitting there next to Vladimir Putin.
Okay, so you believe that it is a fear thing.
I'm not going to lie. I think that there is a chance that it could be a fear. Like he has too much respect for the man, not enough respect for the man, or too much fear of the man, maybe too much respect for the man. I don't know. And to be honest, I think this all boils down to certain claims that maybe Russia has something on him.
Okay. So why did he kill the Russians? Or why did he authorize the killing of the Russians, the arming of the
Because
Ukrainians?
people are expendable. No matter how you look at it, we're still on the Syrian rebels sort of side, even though we're not really there right now. But the whole Syrian conflict, I think, is still pretty moot to the situation. And
so did you hear about that whole, that it could be fake?
The what? The dossier?
Well, you said Syrian. I thought we were talking about the nerve gas thing.
Oh, yeah, the nerve gas. How the nerve gas could be fake, yes. I did hear about that.
So the White Hats have been defunded. The White Hats supposedly have been at the center of every gas attack. They've rolled out this gas attack basically every time the United States appears that they're going to pull their forces away. Suddenly there's a gas attack against its own people. So essentially, you've got the Syrian government. It is Syria, right?
Yeah, it is Syria.
Yeah. You got the Syrian government who wants the United States to leave. The United States says, "Well, we're heading out," and then suddenly he gasses people before they can go. And this happens, I think, 3 times, maybe 4. And then in addition, basically the films that they have, there's bodies that have been moved. There's people who basically there's this scene where they're washing people with a hose, and the people who are washing people are basically wearing lab coats. I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And sorry, go ahead.
So what you're implying here is that the Syrian gas attacks are fake?
They may be fake. I have no idea for certain, but I'm saying this is something that people have said, and it stands reason that it is quite suspicious that a person who wants something to happen, like, for example, all he has to do is wait, then gasses people. We're still there. So, like, why not just wait until we're gone and then gas him? Like, if that's what he really wanted to do.
Okay, so I'm not too well versed in this conspiracy theory here, so give me a second.
Well,
here.
a
spokesman for Russia's defense ministry accused the UK of being involved in staging the attack. The US and France say they have proof it took place, and alongside the UK are considering military retaliation. Russia, which has military forces deployed in Syria in support of the government, has warned that Western airstrikes risk starting a war. So basically, Russia's claim all along is that the evidence for the gas attacks is fake, and we've been fighting about that since that happened. I do recall some of this now.
Rand Paul believes them too. Do you know Rand Paul?
Yeah. And Rand Paul believes that they're fake also, really?
Yeah, you can look it up.
Okay. Hold on.
Well, again, I'm not saying he believes it. I'm saying he suggests.
Okay.
So it's the junior. Yeah, Rand Paul, yeah.
Yep. So, according to this, Rand Paul questions Syria chemical weapons narrative on CNN.
Yep.
Yeah, let me see if I can find his exact comments here. Paul, well, Blitzer, first off, as you know, it's not just the U.S., but France and UK participated in the bombing of these chemical sites in Syria. Are you saying, Senator, the president had bad intelligence? I don't know. I haven't seen the intelligence. We have a briefing this afternoon where I may see this, see some of this, but the difficulty is these things are not a slam dunk. This was back in 2013. President Obama looked at the chemical attack, and at that point in time, his general was saying, hey, it's not a slam dunk because you can detect there are Syrian claims. All right. Anyways, to bring this back to this whole Russia thing, explain to me how these chemical attacks and the fact that we bombed the hell out of the bases at the time because of these chemical attacks, how do you think that looks overall in the world? Especially considering that there wasn't much more than grandstanding done afterwards. I mean...
Well, to be clear, there's 2 perspectives. At least 2. There's probably more. But, so, we have the United States, and we have not us. Okay? So, sorry. To be fair, the people who are with us, and the people who are not with us.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be Russia. That would be all the people who support Russia. All the
Syrian, like China, Syria, things like that. Yeah. So, Iran.
In this particular example, they're sharing information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a narrative that they believe. Okay.
Right.
And then the Syrian government says something, and they are there on the ground, and they say fake, right?
Right.
Russians do their own investigation. They say fake.
Mm-hmm.
United States, or I believe the UN, tries to come in and investigate the area.
Mm-hmm.
They get shot at, so they can't come in. And so, the place gets cleaned up, and no one can investigate it properly. So we take this information that we have, and where do we get our sources from? I know it sounds like a conspiracy, but the mainstream media.
Yes, we do.
And
from, the AP generally.
And hopefully their information is true, because what happens is an echoing thing goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime there's a mistake, we've seen it before, like with Trump and the Japan koi fish situation. echoed before they realize what they're doing.
Yeah.
So suddenly we have a situation where we need Trump to do something, and if he doesn't do it right, this might be a time that we can fuck him over. So what do we do if we're the media? Well, we echo it, right?
Yeah.
This needs action. This needs action. Does he have the balls to start acting on this guy? Like, will he do this? Most people before this assumed not. They assumed he would make the wrong moves, but he didn't. He followed the narrative.
Yeah, no. The Syria attacks were well needed and should have happened under Obama way beforehand.
Right. So you don't have any problem with what he did?
No, God, no. I'm 100% in support of him bombing Syria. I think Obama should have done it back when it happened. Even if it was fake.
Even if it was fake, it was appropriate to kill people?
It was appropriate to take action in Syria. It has been a problem for far too long. We should have taken...
If it was fake, was it appropriate to do what Trump did?
To attack the enemy? Yes.
There would be no enemy.
There is an enemy. Right now, the enemy is Assad and his government.
Okay. Why is he the enemy?
Because we took sides during this. We have taken the side of the rebels in Syria. We should have given them weapons back in 2013, but the Republican Congress decided that we shouldn't be a part of this.
Right. So why aren't we attacking him every day if he's the enemy?
Because right now there's a big political turmoil about it, and we want to keep Russia happy and all that shit.
Okay, but otherwise we would be attacking him every day?
Otherwise, we would be sending troops over there, and we'd be treating it a lot more like Iraq than what we do.
Okay.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think there's a lot of weariness from the Iraq War and the Afghan War and all that stuff.
So you think it would be appropriate to attack them without any sort of gas attacks?
Yes.
That's an interesting concept.
Or at least go in there and train the rebels and give them weapons. I mean, Assad has not been on our side, ever.
Okay.
We should encourage this change.
That may be true. But in my mind, okay, we don't get involved in something that we don't have to get involved. What is the U.S. interest in this? What do we get out of it?
What was our interest in Vietnam? What was our interest in Iraq?
I could tell you.
Okay.
Spreading communism, and George Bush supposedly believed that Osama bin Laden was something to do with Iraq, and then decided to go ahead and topple the regime of...
Osama bin Laden had nothing to do with Iraq. We went into Iraq because the UN Council determined that there was weapons of mass destruction there.
No, it had everything to do with it. We were already in Afghanistan.
So what? We're just like, shit, we're already in Afghanistan. Let's walk over to Iraq.
Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know why I just said that. That is exactly what happened. You're right. You're right. Okay. But anyways, what was our real business in Iraq? There wasn't any. We were there to impose our ideals on the rest of the world.
Was to topple the regime because we deemed it to be, or not we, they deemed it to be some sort of threat.
Yeah.
Only reason they could justify it. They said that it had yellow cake uranium. Was not apparently true, and thus we still say, yeah. So essentially, what I'm saying is that if you think that it is justified to attack a person who even is your enemy without provocation, as a nation, this person having allies, powerful allies with nuclear weapons, you're a fool, because all they have to do is make sure that we're mutually destroyed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And then they kind of just come out of it looking great. And I get where you're coming from.
They die, but they make an agreement with China to bring us down, and then China stays on top.
Yeah.
For example. I mean, it could have turned out any other way, but what I'm saying is, it is better to have provocation to attack.
So do you think that Trump shouldn't have bombed Syria?
In this particular case, I don't know. I have not been able to see compelling evidence. I haven't been able to see evidence that would explain the discrepancies in the videos, other than the fact that, oh, these aren't representative videos. So I'm not on the ground. I don't know this stuff, and unfortunately, I'm reliant on other people for accuracy.
Well, let's go and let's bring this back. We're getting off topic, going to all the way over to Syria right now, and to be honest,
the matter is
we're almost switching sides on the war thing when it comes to conservative versus non-conservative here.
Well, the point, no, my idea is nearly isolationist conservatism. Like, I'm okay with us doing things as long as there's a profit.
Nah, I want us to be the world police, man.
Yeah, that's a terrible plan. That's a very expensive and terrible plan. But
I think it gets us one step closer to the one world government.
If we bombed them, let's just say, and it wasn't totally legit, that means that we were unjust when we did this.
Yes, correct.
So we have committed, even by the standards of the UN, a crime if we did something without provocation as a nation. So even with our agreement with the Syrian rebels, which are not the Syrian government, we are saying that our information on the ground, which is based off of, by the way, limited reporting sources, like even in, that's another thing, but limiting reported sources, reporters that are basically on the ground and are biased towards a particular bend, because we were taking the advice of the white hats at the time, which apparently are just, you know, basically just completely partisan, or they're for someone else, not for basically what they stand for.
Yeah.
They're compromised, essentially.
Correct.
We cut funding with them afterwards. And so let me ask you a question. Why would we cut funding with them if they shared this information with us and they're totally legit? Why would we cut funding?
To keep them quiet. To keep them quiet.
You're saying we would cut funding to keep them quiet?
Yes.
Okay, go on, please.
Well, no, I'm just saying. To go with the whole idea, because I can't give you an answer legitimately why we cut the funding to these white hat investigators or whatever. But
it stands to reason they did something that would warrant cutting the funding.
Okay.
So if everything was on the up and up, if this was just a straight up chemical attack,
yes,
and these white hats, since they've been at the heart of it every single time, they'd be heroes, wouldn't they?
Until they start spewing anti-America propaganda,
right?
Such as the whole thing wasn't real and it was made up.
No, they're the ones who said it was real.
Oh, I thought you were saying that they were the other way around.
No. I'm saying
this is a topic I do not know much about. I am not going to lie here.
No, I know. If you would take my word for it, these guys are at the heart of all the attacks. They're the people who come in and they basically help clear rubble, help with the medical services.
All right, fair enough.
They're Muslim, what do you call that? Kind of like a Doctors Without Borders Muslim style.
Okay, get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every attack, they've been there first.
Okay.
Or at least damn near first. They've done the filming. They put it out to their sources in the media.
Yeah.
And then after this whole thing goes down, their funding gets cut. All of it.
I wonder why. That's interesting. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, if they were heroes, as they purport to be, then the funding most likely would not get cut. If there was something that they didn't... People, like, for example, we made a mistake, maybe not all of this stuff that we thought was true is true. Maybe there was maybe it was the rebels who gassed their own people to make sure that we didn't leave the area. Then we just punched Russia in the face for damn near no reason. Not to mention, Russia has basically made shadow deals with Germany, and Trump has called attention to that.
Yeah.
Trump has armed rebels who fight Russia. Trump has basically, I mean, as he keeps saying, he's been harder on Russia than in other administrations. So if he's hard on Russia, how has he treated other nations?
A lot harder. I mean, when it comes to like speaking addresses and stuff, we've been terrible.
We're not talking about speaking. We're talking about killing their citizens.
Yes, I'll give you this. On an actual performance level, Trump has been pretty rough on Russia. Not completely. I mean, but with the killing of his troops in Syria, yes, definitely.
So not just killing of his troops and flouting of his alliance with another nation. So part of the value of Russia, when it comes to people who are not aligned with the United States, is that Russia is crazy enough to do it. That's essentially Russia's the mad dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you want the mad dog to protect you, so you make agreements with them, sweetheart deals or whatever. And then the mad dog will protect you from the United States. Well, how does that look when the United States is able to essentially fuck up somebody he's trying to protect? Does it look good?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So not only did we kill the dudes, but we basically slapped him in the face and said, "What?" And he said, "Boo."
I like that.
Yeah.
But
I tried to do a Russian.
All right, so like during the press conference, though, he completely turned face.
U.S. foolishness.
Whoa, hold on,
stupidity,
people are talking. Sorry about that. All right, so here it says, this is what he said on Monday. I have a great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin has extremely strong and powerful in his denial today, or was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
Yep.
He said during a joint press conference. Now, this is over, obviously, the recent indictments of people for meddling in our election affairs, mostly for hacking the DNC.
By the way, I'd like to point out something. The people that he indicted, the Mueller investigation or whatever,
yes,
he indicted known spy people.
Yes,
like,
he did.
So basically, let's just say, for example, in this analogy, we've got like another foreign government who's like, we know the United States did some stuff over here, so therefore we will call to question Jason Bourne. Like, Jason Bourne's done some stuff. Like, whether he's done this stuff or some other stuff, he's done some stuff. Like, everyone knows Jason Bourne's got his hands dirty. So it's like, yeah, okay.
I don't know if I go that far. I cannot agree with you that these are going to be like well-known people and all that stuff, like the Jason Bournes or the 007s. I got. I don't think they're that well-known. First off,
okay, so it's secret.
And second off, I will tell you from my own personal experience when it comes to computer stuff, you can figure out anything. All right, I can figure out every time you connect to my computer. Do what?
Can you fake everything? Can I fake it?
Sort of and sort of not. Now, I don't know exactly what the government's using, but I'll tell you right now, if I was looking for you specifically, I could prove it was you if you were the one that actually hacked me.
Okay.
Because of other little tells, like biometric data analysis would be the biggest way that you'd look into this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, sure, I can hide an IP address. I can use a VPN. I can use proxy. Basically, I said all the exact same things. But that's usually the way that you would go about hiding yourself on the internet. You know? Now, if you go into someone or if you go onto a webpage or whatever, and you start typing, especially with Google's current algorithms and stuff, they know exactly who you are about 10 seconds after you start typing. Every single time.
Okay.
And like Google, for example, uses this technology to send you ads. It could be on any computer. You don't have to log into anything. All you have to do is start typing. And it takes about 10 seconds for Google to figure out, hey, this is such and such. He likes to buy, tampons. Let's put up tampon commercials for him.
Okay. Let's just say, for example, that what you're saying is true, and we have some badass technology.
That isn't some badass technology. This is legit what Google uses right now.
Oh, I'm about to explain what I mean.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So we have some badass technology that can basically cut through any, like, masking tech that Russia would have. Like, it just cuts right through it. That Russia wanted to say they're from China, and we just cut right through that. They say they wanted to say they're from North Korea, we cut through that, and we just find the heart of where it came from.
Yes.
Russia has no idea about it, because the other answer would be to just go to that country and hack into this one. But anyways, so let's just say, for example, it absolutely, positively was Russia. Who in
Yes.
Russia? Was it the Russian government or someone else?
Well, it seems like they've pointed out what people they are.
Yeah, no, they got people for indictments.
Yes.
Like, that means, hey, we want to ask you some questions. Not that we have, we got evidence. We can prove it.
Well, I mean, these are indictments to go to trial, so yes, there would be evidence to hold that up. I mean, they have a judge saying, hey, these people need to come down here to be tried. They
Real
have been...
quick, look up
I think
an
they've even been
indictment.
charged. What?
You should really quick look up what an indictment is. I'll do it too. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe you're right.
Hold on, I'm going to look up Russians charged, because I'm pretty sure they were charged. I don't think they were just indicted. Yeah, charged with, according to BBC here, 12 Russians charged with U.S. 2016 election hack. So yeah, they have been straight up charged. It's not just an indictment.
Yeah, well, there's terminology here. Okay, so what happens with the indictment? You're saying they're no longer indicted, they're straight up charged?
They're straight up charged. So the second they step on American soil, they will be arrested and read their rights.
Okay.
And then given a trial date and all that stuff. They might even have a trial date right now. But there has been, and I don't know the exact details about this, but we have charged someone else before.
To be clear, I have made a mistake in the terminology.
Yeah.
I'm not up with the legal doctrine. So indictment is a charge.
And there you go. So yeah.
So yeah, my mistake. I was thinking about an inquiry. So anyways, yeah, okay, so they've been charged with something. Do you know the funny thing about charging Russians?
They can't come here. Or they don't have to come here by any means. I shouldn't say can't,
Not even the president of Russia in their constitution can make them come here.
Yeah.
So I could probably charge a lot of people if I wanted to make it look like I knew what I was doing.
That is...
They're never going to... They didn't do it.
Okay, so personally, do you think that these 12 Russians did this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they did?
No, because I don't know any prosecution that does a slam dunk on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they shotgun scattered. Maybe one of them did it, or maybe someone knows something.
So
the way that
who do you think did the hack on the DNC?
You'll never know. Do you know why?
Why?
Where's the server?
Oh, you brought up the server, the missing server. You know, I'll tell you right now, if our company, the company I work for, got hacked tomorrow, we would never give up the server to the government. Ever.
Okay,
This is common business practice here.
Okay, and then would you expect the government to help you out?
Yes. There are other ways to figure out who hacked you. You don't need the server to figure that out. That server contains sensitive data. There is no reason to give that shit to the government.
What they would use as evidence?
Well, they would track who came in and who came out, and also where the leak was given. In this case, yeah. No, you don't want to need the server. You would not need the server for this.
The server would be compromised by a third party, essentially. Like, if you say, oh no, hey, Federal Bureau of Investigations, chill out. You don't need to investigate this. This is fine. We got these guys over here we're paying these monies to, and they said it's these guys. So just go investigate those guys. Thanks, Federal Bureau of Investigations. Really
and then they go on to investigate those guys and confirm them through other sources.
You paid somebody to tell you something. Like, how is that impartial? How is that?
But you don't need the servers to prove it. I mean, there are other ways you can figure that shit out.
Well, then why don't they hand them over?
Because it's not common business practice. There's sensitive material on those servers that you don't want getting out. As I said, if our company's servers were hacked right now, like today, we would not hand those over to the government because they contain...
What about espionage?
What do you mean about
international espionage?
Well, then they might be able to subpoena you for it, but apparently they can't do that to the DNC, so I doubt that they'd be able to do that in this situation.
No, they didn't try. Don't you remember? They didn't try.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so they might have been able to, but they didn't try. So, essentially, we don't know. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, the Russians hacked into the servers," but they have the people these intelligence agencies, the ones They didn't look into it, so
Okay.
how do we know?
I just want to throw some crazy shit out here that's going to help you along.
Okay.
My mom, she's a crazy conspiracy theorist now. Hardcore
Okay.
Trump fanatic supporter, okay? But crazy conspiracy theorist. In fact, she believes that Trump goes by an alias of QAnon on, 4chan boards and shit.
Thing?
What?
No, sorry. I thought it was a religious thing. QAnon.
Well, there is some religious context here, too. But, yeah,
Okay.
it's a complicated story. I don't want to get into all of it. But you've heard of Steph Rich, right?
No.
Remember that DNC staffer who was mysteriously mugged and killed right before the DNC leaks?
Vaguely. I know that someone thinks that he was going to roll over on something.
Yeah. So what happened was during an interview about 2 or 3 weeks later or whatever with Julian Assange on some BBC network or some shit. It could have been Alex Jones also. I can't remember exactly. But anyways, Julian Assange straight up was, just sitting there talking about how he'll never give away his informants or whatever. And he's like, did you hear about this Steph Rich guy who was just killed randomly in Washington, D.C.? I don't want that to happen to one of my guys. And the interviewer was just like, wait a minute, sir, are you implying that Steph Rich worked for you? He's like, I'm not saying anything one way or another. And then ever since then, this has spewed out of control. So, the running theory right now by conspiracy theorists is that Steph, whatever the fuck his name was, Myers. Rich, thank you. So, Steph Rich went in and did basically copied all the data onto a USB and then gave it over to WikiLeaks. Well, the DNC found out about it and had the motherfucker killed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then
that's why they won't show the server, though, because apparently the whole concept is that they will find the server and they'll find out that this data wasn't stolen, but it was rather just downloaded to a USB drive. Or it wasn't hacked via network, it was downloaded to a USB drive, and that'd be the big smoking gun,
Essentially, it's kind of a weird legal situation because it does look suspicious, and it would be up to a jury to decide, honestly, or a judge, depending on how it goes. But it doesn't look good that the DNC never turned over their server, even though they were asked by the FBI. And now,
but it's not normal practice for a business to give over a server. And don't forget, the DNC is a business; it's not a government organization.
I understand that, but
yes.
Do you think the DNC is equipped to deal with international threats?
No, but it happens every day. I mean,
international threat?
Yes, every day China comes in and tries to hack our servers to get, plans for the latest product we're making.
To the election.
Well, no. that has not happened very often. So.
Well, I mean, if
other than people trying to get into the ballot boxes, which is impossible.
If the DNC was really concerned with their hack, and basically, here's what I think. They don't want anyone to know more things that they've done wrong.
That's what I would bet. But again, this is a common practice, though.
That there is some deal going on with the votes.
The votes?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. Let's hear this.
Okay. So the DNC, I believe, manipulates votes for the DNC.
Okay. And by that, do you mean during primaries or during actual elections?
Primaries.
Primaries. Okay. While that could be the case, because there's no way you can say no to that, especially with the information given out by during the hack that did happen.
I think they've all done it. Is my assessment.
Oh, probably, but that's not illegal. I mean, no matter how you want to look at it, there's nothing illegal about it. They can manipulate the votes.
They can go ahead and be illegal if they want. If it comes out, they're done. So I'm fine with it not being illegal, because if they find out that
Oh, man. First off, they're not done. The same shit happened in 68.
What is that?
Let me see if I can find it.
If you're about to say that basically they manipulated it so that someone else would win?
Yes.
Okay. I'm saying that on that server probably is evidence that they've done more than that, but specifically they've done that with every election.
Look,
as far as their computers,
I can tell you first off about Hillary Clinton specifically. When I did the caucus here, I went in and there's it was a small group of people, but 30, maybe 40 people in our caucus, or that were caucusing for Democrats, okay? And when they told us to separate because that's how you do caucus, normally you separate into different sides of the room.
Right.
And then they just take a head count or whatever. And when we all separated, there was 3 of us sitting over as Bernie Sanders supporters. And all 37 other people were Hillary Clinton.
So you think that Hillary Clinton won fair and square?
I think so. From what I have personally seen, I believe that. Now, when you say fair and square, I mean there was no manipulation of the votes. Now, there might have been manipulation of the dialogue given, maybe not enough time given to Bernie Sanders, that I can get behind and agree with. But I cannot straight up sit here and tell you that, there was people coming in miscounting heads and stuff, because that was definitely not the case where I was.
Don't you think that would be the obvious thing?
And on the same storyline, this is how I knew we were fucked during the 2016 election, or Democrats were fucked during the 2016 election. No, fucked. We walked in, I walked in, I got there, and I'm like, wow, there's a ton of people, because they decided to change, because usually we did it at, the firehouse, and then, the Republicans would be at the firehouse, and the Democrats would be at the school, alright, and this time they're like, oh, no, we're gonna do the big school in the bigger town, I was like, well, that's weird. And anyways, I go up, and there's 100 people sitting outside in a fucking line to the gym. I'm like, holy crap, there's a big turnout this year. What the hell? And then I see Republican. I'm like, fuck. And then Democrats are in the small, tiny cafeteria.
That's hilarious.
Gym completely full of people. There was 1,000 people in our caucus.
So here's the interesting thing. You said that you believe Hillary Clinton won fair and square.
I do.
So let's just think about that. If Hillary Clinton won fair and square, then their best Democratic candidate in the DNC was defeated by a reality TV star.
Yeah, blow me.
I mean, think about that for a moment.
Look, it was Hillary Clinton's fault that the Democrats lost the election. I don't even know if it had that much to do with the general idea. I don't think Russians caused the election to go into her favor. I think Trump won 100% fair and square.
Hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
So, if Hillary was legitimately chosen, okay, are you aware that Barack Obama bankrupted the DNC?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what Hillary did for the DNC?
She gave them money.
Gave them money on a stipend.
Yes.
So basically, I will pay you allowances.
Yeah, yeah.
And you will do what I tell you.
No, that legit happened.
You think that with that kind of situation going on with the DNC, that she was going to lose?
What, when that came out? Or the primary? No, God, no. She was not going to lose.
The money.
You're right.
Yeah,
she was not going to lose.
She bought the vote. She bought it.
I gotta say, she didn't sit there and manipulate the caucus. She did sit there and manipulate the narrative.
Okay. Did she get the questions beforehand?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, manipulate the caucus then. So.
Oh, suck my dick.
That beat Nixon. So Nixon, I think it was Nixon versus Kennedy. He came out, he was all sweaty and stuff.
Yeah.
That alone hurt him, supposedly.
Yeah, true. But at the same time, Hillary Clinton's biggest flaw as a candidate was the fact that she was so obvious, robotic, and had the perfect answer for every fucking question. That was her problem to begin with. And she would have paid attention and realized that those were her problems. She could have won.
She's a sociopath.
Yes. And she spends too much time trying to act like she's someone normal. If she just came out and said, hey, You know what? Fuck everybody. I think she would have had a better chance of winning than she did as with her wooden acting, you know?
Super predators. Do you remember this quote? Super predators?
No, I don't.
Okay, so this is what in the 90s she called black people.
Super
who
predators?
Were, selling products. Yeah, they were selling drugs, gang members.
Yep, super predators. Okay.
Super predator.
Nice.
Do you know what that means? Like not a normal predator like me.
Yeah.
A super predator, like like a black guy. Like,
look up the white devil, or sorry, look up Uncle Tom on the sexual predators list. You'll find him right there.
Yeah. So, honestly, like in actuality, so back to the Russia Trump thing. So,
yeah,
I believe that what happened is Trump felt like he needs to be PC in his diplomacy, essentially. Like,
yeah.
He understands that he's skirting close to...
Then why the fuck isn't he being PC with our allies? I mean, why the hell is he shoving it in the face of the Canada Prime Minister, the fucking Britain Prime Minister, the fucking Germany Prime Minister? I mean, why is he doing that yet being all nice and for buddy-buddy with Putin? Don't you think that shit's weird, too?
Living off our bill? Like, we've been paying for everything?
I guess we haven't been paying much for Russia, then.
No, we haven't.
I know. Okay, so Trump cares more about how much money we're giving people than he does about how fucked up they are.
Well, essentially, that is a kind of an important thing when we have a very sizable... Barack Obama doubled the debt, so... Yeah,
but the debt's not... We're going to get way off topic here if we start talking about debt.
It's not a big deal?
The debt isn't debt. A lot of people don't understand what the debt actually is.
Okay. Well, please explain.
Most of the debt, you should look at it as stocks. Most of the debt is stock. All right? People buy bonds, and they make money off those bonds. That is what our debt is. This is not anything new. We've been doing it since the 40s. And we even did it in times before that, too. Bonds are not anything new. They are not considered actual debt. That'd be like saying, Wells Fargo's in constant debt because they have stockholders. America has stockholders.
Okay. Do you know a sizable stockholder for America?
What?
China.
Okay, yes. China has about $3 trillion to $4 trillion in debt or in stock right now in the country.
You know what would happen if they cashed it?
What? We would pay them.
Yeah, and it would plummet the value.
And might I add, the way that bonds work, you can't cash them until like 20 or 30 years. So there is ways that bonds avoid that. So, and yes, China does owe a lot of bonds, but we don't go up to China and say, "Hey, can you load us a few bucks?" No, China comes to us and buys these bonds.
Yes, and if they
because they are an investment in their future. And they cannot just cash out on it.
Hold on a second. It's not just an investment, but it's a political tool. It's a knife.
There is no political influence from bonds. There never has been.
No, debt. I'm talking about
these are bonds. Debt. China doesn't go in and say, "Hey," or we don't go up to China and say, "Hey, do you want to loan us $2 trillion?" No, we throw up more bonds for sale. And then China goes in and says, "Hey, look at all those bonds for sale. I'm going to go ahead and buy those." But those bonds have rules. They can't cash out whenever they want.
But they can begin to cash out.
Yes, and they do.
And that would hurt.
But they cash out every day. I mean, every day the bond gives out, everybody cashes out on them.
All of them at once.
They do. Everybody does it. I mean, geez, when you have a bond...
all of their debt, all the American debt at once every day.
No. They cash out what bonds expired that day.
Okay. What I'm saying is they can begin the process of no longer taking our debt.
No, because they bought the bonds. The bonds would be null and void in that situation.
You're saying China is stuck with our debt?
Yes. Seriously, that's how it works. China doesn't loan us money.
I guarantee you that it's not that.
No court would hold that up. If I bought a bond and I'm like, fuck, I'm going to cash this right now, I would be laughed at and told that that would be void if I tried to cash it right now.
You have applied bonds as if they were debt. Okay?
They are.
But they are like debt. It's not. They are debt.
Yeah, but that's what our debt is. It's all bonds. Our debt isn't like loaned money. It's bought as bonds. People buy stock in the United States. That's what we call our debt.
I know that. I'm saying it is not a perfect analogy because normally when a person gets rid of a bond, it's to a private entity, right? You get me?
But bonds can be bought by other countries too.
Right, bearer bonds and all that other stuff. Yeah, I got it. What I'm saying is, if a person like China, sorry, not China, if a guy running China, you know, the president for life, chose to burn the bridge of with America, okay, they could hurt us using that as leverage.
No, they couldn't because they have the rules right there. They are not held up in court.
They're not held up in court.
They would not be held up in court. They'd be knocked down.
So you're saying that if China tried to tried to cash out
all of its bonds, all the bonds that are not legally allowed to be cashed out, we would refuse to pay on.
Okay, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying if China tried to cash out all the bonds legally at once.
Yeah, I guess maybe that would hurt, but they have to be ready. They have to be there, and they are sold and bought in a way to where that's just a constant buying and selling.
I know. That's the plan. Constant buying and selling. So if a massive $1 trillion debt were to be began the process of cashing out, that would hurt.
Yes.
That would hurt us.
Not tremendously, because most of the idea is the fact that we'd be worth more at that point in time in the future.
We would be worth more at that point.
Yeah, it's like, again, a bond time period depends on how long it is. Let me look at this up.
Okay.
How long before you can cash a bond?
Again, that would be an inaccurate statement because based off of what they are, because they're a conglomerate of different things, you just find basically 1% of maybe what they bought, possibly.
No, that is what they buy. That's all the debt. All the debt's in bonds.
Look up China's, or wait, America, what would it be called? Actually, they probably have something. What if China cashed out? Or what if China got rid of American debt?
What, just said we're not buying them anymore?
No, I'm saying there probably is someone who already explained what would happen.
Yeah, basically, if China knocked out, the big thing is that those bonds would become worth less money because of how the market would work. So if there becomes a huge influx of bonds available in the market, then those bonds would all drop in value, and therefore they wouldn't be worth as much. So technically it would even itself out then, too. So
there's just a win-win, essentially.
It's not a lose-lose. How's that?
I don't believe you, because that does not make any sense, essentially. Debt is bad, okay?
Yes, China but everyone looking at it like it's... See, that's the problem with the verbiage used here. I hate the fact that people call it debt. It's not really debt. It's not like we go up to China and be like, hey, can you loan us a couple trillion? You know? We don't even go up to them and ask them if they can loan us a couple of dollars. That's not how it works. The debt is bought. The debt is put up for sale on the markets, and then investors buy it. And China is an investor.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that make sense?
No, it doesn't, because essentially, okay, so debt, the national debt of the United States is a public debt carried by the federal government, by the federal government of the United States, which is measured as the face value of the currently outstanding Treasury securities that have been issued by the Treasury and other federal government agencies. The term national deficient and national surplus usually refer to the federal government budget balance from year to year. That's useless.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. I'm
Okay.
I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, so China owns 21% of the
Yes.
$6 trillion debt.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, yeah, 21% of the 6 trillion.
Which is only like 1 or 2 trillion. Somewhere in that range. Yeah, 1.18 trillion.
Only 2 trillion.
Look, if we had to as a country, we could pay that out. Our GDP is hitting almost 4 trillion a year.
As long as we, spend less on defense and all that stuff. Less on services, right? Like welfare.
We are getting so off topic right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an important point to deal with. So we need to figure out whether or not Chinese interests affect ours if they decide to get rid of the debt that they hold.
It would have an effect on our country. If China decided one day that they were going to stop buying debt, the new investors would have to take their place. And the question is, would there be new investors that would take their place? Because in reality, there probably would. So if China did not decide one day that they're not going to buy any more debt, and they want to cash in all their current debt, and we said, sure, you know what, we'll make that happen, okay? What would happen is we would increase our bonds available to the public and more private investors. So basically the percentages would change hands.
Do you know if Russia has debt?
I have no idea. That's a good question. Probably not.
I'm sorry, has bought debt from us. Is it like China having some?
Apparently Russia has like the lowest debt in the world. Russia has an upper middle mixed economy with Russia's vast. Wow. I didn't want to know about the whole economy, you piece of shit. But what was your question?
Whether or not China has
Or Russia?
bought our debt. Sorry, Russia, yeah.
That's a darn good question. Yes, they do.
Okay, so that's another factor.
Yes. But so has everybody else. I mean, shit. I'm sure Britain has plenty of debt of ours, too. I'm sure Canada
but
does.
If ever, essentially, the goal is to not give out too much that it would drastically destabilize our government. Right?
Yeah, right.
But if something comes down to it, China doing something, all of it at once would hurt us, right?
Yes. We would notice it, yes. But then again, it could also be restructured to where it wouldn't be that bad. You know what I mean?
Before or after it occurred?
Probably after, or probably just right before, to be honest. And then after that, it'd just be restructured, and it'd probably work out fine in the end. I mean, I get that a big conservative talking point is we have to keep the debt low, And there's ways to keep the debt low that conservatives don't want to hear. Like, they don't want to hear that we can just increase taxes a little bit. They don't want to hear that we can...
Do you know why?
Because we're so highly taxed as it is right now.
Taxes is stealing from people.
No, taxes are what we use to pay our government.
We are paying our government right now.
Yes, that's right.
So why would we raise taxes?
So that the government could pay off its debt. I mean, geez, if we increase our tax rates to an average of, let's say, 30%, because right now, like, the average tax rate is like, what, 15, 12, maybe 20 at the highest? Like your
Depending on where
average
you
person pays about 15 to 20% in debt. If we increase that to 30%, just think of it this way. That'd be like a 5% rise altogether. So if we took that 5% and used it to pay off all the debt, it would take us less than 20 years to pay off everything.
20 years
20
of
years.
consistency.
Of consistency.
How many presidencies would that be?
That would be a 5.
So all 5 presidents would have to agree.
Yes, all 5 presidents would.
How many sessions of Congress?
A lot more than that.
House representatives?
10 for House. What's 6? 20, that doesn't really work out. So let's go to 18. 3 or 4 for Senate.
So essentially, what you're proposing is that there be some sort of unprecedented continuation of high taxes in the United States that would ultimately pay off the taxes in 20 years.
It wouldn't even be that high. I mean, 30% isn't some crazy out there amount.
It is pretty crazy out there if it's not that happening right now.
You're already paying like 20%. Let's increase it to 30%. And then we can get that shit paid off quick.
You mean, why don't we just steal more money from the people?
It ain't stealing. I mean, this is normal parts of life. You have to pay your taxes,
totally
man. Name one country in the world right now that has no taxes.
Has what?
No taxes.
Why would I do that? That makes no sense.
Okay.
We still have taxes.
Yes, yes. But, okay. So you don't believe that our taxes should ever be increased. Do you believe that we should drop them every once in a while?
I would prefer to pay for very little in the government. I believe welfare, for example, should be something that is controlled by private charity.
Yeah, because private charity does such an amazing job at taking care of that shit.
In my opinion, it does far better than the government.
Why? Because they don't have a high record of people screwing over the system?
Well, usually it's because you don't find out that people are buying like $50, I don't know, muffins and stuff while in session. Or, you know, taking trips down to South America, sleeping with prostitutes during Barack Obama's watch.
Well, what? For welfare? What?
No, I'm saying the government waste is what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, there's definitely plenty of government waste on top of that.
And how much
we can
does
both agree on that.
Private companies waste? Since they're motivated by a profit margin.
How much does
your company waste?
Oh, tons.
Tons?
Yeah, tons.
Okay. Tell me some of the waste that your company does.
Well, I don't want to get too specific because I might get in trouble if anyone ever
just an example
goes in that. Let's just say we spend a lot of money on moving material between buildings that we send back to other buildings.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any regulations that might dictate that is appropriate?
No, it's not appropriate. It's basically one department's getting yelled at because if they run out of parts, they're going to get yelled at. And another department gets yelled at for spending too much money. And these two departments hate each other and are constantly warring against each other. They're not working together. Okay. But yes, that's a great example of waste in our company. And I'm sorry, I don't want to go that specific into it.
No, it's fine. It's a perfect
But this is
example.
A very real thing. It costs thousands of dollars every day.
So essentially the waste occurs because there's two warring individuals that believe that something could be done better, right?
I wouldn't say individuals, but departments, yes.
Okay.
That believe one thing should be done one way, another department believes another thing should be done another way.
Okay. When I was in, I go ahead and say it, I was in the military, and I went on deployment.
You Nazi-killing bastard.
Yeah. They gave us lobsters. Most of them rotted because, you know, not a lot of people eat lobsters. Some people have allergies. I shouldn't say most of them. A lot of them did. We had steak sometimes. I'm not saying all the time, but the people who did stay on the bases, they got this stuff all the time, like relatively frequently. Mm-hmm. And not all of it was used. Some of it was wasted. A lot of it was wasted. And I'm not saying that the armed forces shouldn't get special treatment in some capacities, but lobster, really? That's,
that,
really?
that is pretty annoying. But yeah, dude, no, that's a normal thing around all businesses, though. I've seen similar instances happen.
You're saying lobsters is a normal
Not
thing?
with lobsters, but with other things.
Your company fed you lobsters?
No, no. But okay, all right. I'll give another example, and this was my fuck up too. Okay. So one day, my boss hands me $60. He says, "Order pizzas for everybody." And I was like, "Wow, okay, that's a lot of money to order pizzas for." He's like, "Oh, just make sure don't spend it all if you don't have to." So I call a place and I was like, "Hey, I need to get 2 large pizzas." They're like, "Okay, that'll be $59." Okay. So I hang up because I'm kind of embarrassed at this point, and I call up my boss head in hand, and I'm like, "So, yeah, I ordered 2 large pizzas, and they told me it was going to be $60. And he's like, "Well, that's on you." Okay. Because I chose the wrong place to order pizza from.
Wow, okay. That is just inefficiency. Like
Yeah. But that is waste, though. I mean, it is wasted money.
What I'm talking about
I
is
could have done it so much better, but
like,
because I made a mistake and no one wanted to admit that they made a mistake, me or my boss, then it still happened.
What I'm saying is real waste is when somebody dips their beak or gets something nicer than they deserve. You know how the Trump administration has been under a fine-tooth comb. They're bitching about like people using their own private planes and stuff like that. If you look at the previous administration, like dudes were wasting money left and right. Like there were people who were going on trips and no one even cared.
And I would love to see stuff like that end. I'm fine with that. That would save a lot of money if we got hard on that.
No, not save money. Money that is stolen from the people. Tax money.
Yes.
It's stolen from the people. It's being wasted. So, if you want to raise taxes, you get rid of the waste. Then you can raise some taxes. How about that?
That works for me. But the question is, are we ever going to agree on what all the waste is?
I could easily name some of the waste. Welfare.
Here we go.
It is a wasteful system. There's no return for it. I'm sorry. I should be more specific. The types of welfare that don't get paid back. How about that? There's many.
That's the whole point of welfare, though. It's supposed to be there to help you out. You don't need to pay it back.
Government loans are a form of welfare.
Yeah, well, I'm not okay with that. No. You should not have to pay back money that you need.
You should not have to pay money that you need.
Yes.
You mean money that was stolen from people?
No, money that was given to you.
No, money that was taken from American citizens.
Yes, it was taken from American citizens to pay for the government, and the government in turn decided to spend that money on welfare.
No. The government doesn't decide to spend the money on welfare. The government has elected officials who are supposed to work in the best interest of their people.
That's correct.
So they don't get to decide to spend the money on anything. They get to listen to the people and then spend it on what we tell them to.
But welfare, okay, let's bring this back down to a legal sense. Welfare is completely allowed in this country right now. 100%.
Yes,
no
true.
Payback of welfare. All right? That's your tax money goes to it right now. Okay?
Yep.
So you want to see a law that's put into place in budgetary spending right now that is not wasteful by any term of other than your own crazy idea of wasteful. Go away.
I did not understand what you said.
Okay, let me see if I can explain this better. All right, welfare is already in place. It has helped many people. All right?
Yes.
All right, and no one's had to pay it back at this point. Other than what you're talking about with government subsidized loans and things like that, or straight up government loans to companies and shit like that. I'm talking welfare given to, Shaniqua down the street.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah.
So I get that you disagree with it on moral grounds. I get that.
No, well, I'm on practical grounds. It's inefficient. So,
Okay, what do you think would be a more efficient way of making sure that Shaniqua can eat and feed her 5 children?
community charity.
Community charity. Okay. Now, what is generally a community charity?
Well, I mean, the best example is in religious communities
Okay.
where there's an issue.
Now, let's say Shaniqua don't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now what?
Atheist charities.
Atheist charities? Yeah, because there's so many of those floating around.
Well, there's not many, but when the need arises, people will come.
See, people only help. Oh, people only tend to help people that they run in circles with. You know, generally through
What's wrong
church.
with
That's
that?
why church charities are so prevalent in this nation.
The issue with government spending, especially in the welfare sense, is that it's a hammer. Okay, many times we need a scalpel, and it's a hammer. So maybe Shaniqua, as you so generously provided, actually has a drinking problem, and the people around her know this, and she's fueling her drinking problem with the welfare checks.
Okay.
So the hammer is being applied, and it is not helping the situation. Shaniqua is still drinking, and she's not doing what she's supposed to. She's not improving her life. She's doing what she wants with the money that is not hers, taken from other people for her. That's inappropriate. I believe that can be prevented.
Why? Because you
The
don't
ways
think Shaniqua should be allowed to drink?
Yeah, if she's got a drinking problem, she's not a functioning member of society then.
So now to have welfare, you have to be a functioning member of society? What about cripples?
You cut out at the last point.
What about cripples? They're
What
not
about
functioning
crippled?
members of society.
You mean disabled people?
Disabled people.
Yes, many disabled people are actually functioning members of society.
Okay, let's go for the ones that aren't.
Okay, all right. So give me an example of a disabled person who's not a functioning member of society.
Okay, let's say someone who is, let's go with a blind person.
Okay.
Who is not Daredevil.
Okay, assuming this blind person actually cannot function for some reason, and maybe they're elderly. I don't know.
Every blind person I've ever known has been on welfare. None of them work.
Okay.
I
Then
can't
they're
say.
fine.
And I've known of quite a few blind people. So
This person has a legitimate incapacitation that prevents them from being blind. The question would become, have they been blind from birth? If so, then their parents could have paid into a fund for them to basically qualify for welfare or some sort of Medicare for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have no problem with Medicare in general, like paying into the system so that the system will provide you with coverage. That's fine with me. But there has to be a tit-for-tat relationship so the government can balance the books.
Now let's say this blind person's parents don't give a fuck.
Okay, this blind person's parents don't give a fuck. Well, then this is where the government reasonably could come in and provide assistance. For these special cases in which a person is rendered incapable of doing something and they never had an opportunity for people who care about them to do something about it.
All right,
that they could be given some sort of stipend or something like that.
Let's take this to a personal issue then again. Since, I get where you're going at here and how that is different. I understand that. So let's go to something a bit more similar to an alcoholic. Diabetic. 400 pounds. 400-pound dude. Stays at home. He's diabetic. Can't work. Has to be on pills constantly. Can barely walk around. Heart barely functions. What's up with that guy?
Did they pay into the system before they became diabetic?
Let's say he's had a couple of jobs, yeah. Let's say he worked up until he was 30, and then just started getting worse and worse and worse. Around 35, he just couldn't work anymore.
Okay. So then this individual who's been paying into the system will be utilizing Medicare. If he's diabetic, I assume, is it type 1 or type 2? Or do you know the difference?
Yeah, one of them's juvenile and one of them isn't, so.
Yes, essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
so
we're talking about the one that isn't juvenile.
Okay. Yeah. So then I assume since these are, yeah.
The dude just ate too damn much.
So that means that he contributed to the system. So he would be carried to a limit, but also there's a component of his illness that is essentially selective, I suppose. He will have to face whether or not he can continue living his lifestyle on a limited amount of money. If he continues to live in that manner, then he'll eventually run out of money and not be able to support himself. There are plenty of charitable programs that would be able to support him and do support people like this. But essentially, if this is something that was within his capabilities of preventing or within his capabilities of reversing, then he's just going to have to do that if he wants to survive, just like in any other country.
Yeah, that isn't any other country, though. That's junk countries that treat their citizens like shit.
I think it would be treating your citizen like shit to allow them to become 400 pounds.
So, what you're saying is we should now pay attention to what people eat?
No. Basically what I'm saying is we have developed an atmosphere where this would be acceptable. That this would not
I'm not going to lie. We have developed that atmosphere, yes.
Yeah. So, basically what I'm saying is, like, we have promoted policies where it's just like, yeah, do as you feel, you know, it's all right, cool, man. There is a time period that reaches 400 pounds, and he would be receiving no admonishment from members of his society, like, because it is a mean thing to say that you are getting too heavy to move. I would say that this is a cultural issue more than it is a government issue, personally, because I think that it could have been prevented had the culture been more willing to provide feedback. I mean, there are cultures that this is not an issue for. So what's happening in the United States is...
What you want to go back to is, like, the days of judgment and shit like that, where, like...
When did we leave those
Yeah, you're right. When the fuck did we leave those days?
I dare you to go into a black bar and yell nigger. I just dare you. Go ahead and try. See what happens.
Yeah, no, that would not go too well. You're right. You're right. So, look, all right. If everything fails for someone, then what? That's what I'm trying to get at here. Are we just going to let people die?
Yes.
Why? So you can save a few dollars?
Yes.
So you're going to let someone die because you don't want to pay 10% more of your paycheck to fund them?
No, I didn't say that. I said I would not pay $10 or 10% of my paycheck to the government to save another person because I don't trust that they do it. I could do it.
But they are doing it right now.
And
with welfare.
They're wasting more of it. They're wasting huge quantities of my money.
On what?
Or our people's money. They're wasting it.
Yeah, but you just said... I'm talking about, like, let's say we got drug dealer Joe sitting over there, okay? Hasn't worked a day in his life. Only sold drugs for a living, okay? Spent so much time in jail, he can't even count it anymore. Now he's hitting about 60, and at this point, is just fucked, you know? He can't work, he's got the shakes all the time, can't do anything. Really weird guy, too. Everybody kind of makes fun of him. No one wants to go up and help him. No one wants to talk to him. We're going to let that motherfucker die?
Yes.
Why?
Because the government can't help him.
The government can give him money.
That doesn't help him.
Yeah, but it gives him food. We're not talking about letting him die because of the shakes. Or because of his thing. We're talking about letting him die because he can't afford to go to the damn doctor. Or he can't afford to eat.
He could afford to eat with the people around him.
But no one wants to sit there and talk to him. No one wants to take the time to go up to him. And he doesn't have the time, or he doesn't, you know, he can't comprehend.
Is this a world where religious people don't exist?
Look, like Team Chow.
All right. Reputation, right?
No. I get you. I get you. And I get things like that still happen, and it's good that they do. But I mean, there's no guarantee of it. You're hoping that people. There's no
guarantee when you give the money to the government that they'll get to the right people, or to the people who won't abuse it.
They'll give it to the people who apply for it that qualify for it.
Yes, whether or not they actually need it, whether or not they actually deserve it, whether or not they actually use it for the purposes that they say they
No,
will.
they'll get it if they qualify for it. That's what it matters. If you qualify for it, you get the money.
You get the money that was taken from other people.
That you qualified for because your income was too low.
No, I agree that they qualified for it, but I'm saying the money, okay, that they're just throwing to these people.
Do you feel like you should have the power to decide what is acceptable and what isn't?
No.
Do you feel like the government should?
No.
Okay. So why don't we just give money to the people who qualify for it?
As individuals, I have
Whether
no problem
they
with that.
spend all that money, like let's say, the government gives someone $500 a month or whatever for, just extra welfare. Let's say they even have a job. Let's say they have a job at McDonald's. They make $500. There's, they can't afford to live off McDonald's pay, so, they give them $500. The government gives them $500 a month welfare. Okay, nothing huge, nothing great. This person gets off work and they just want to have a few beers when they go home. So they go in, they buy food with their EBT check, their EBT card or whatever, and then they take out their paycheck that they got and they buy a lot of beer with it. Now, how do you feel about that?
Not great, because they're essentially wasting money that they could use for stuff that they could use for survival. So
yeah, but they're spending the money given to them for the survival thing.
Right.
They've already qualified for the plan. The government's already determined that their income was too low.
Right. So you're saying that they are using the little amount that is provided by the government to buy some food.
Yeah.
And then wasting their larger paycheck on frivolous items.
Yes.
Why would I be okay with that?
Well, I mean, what's the point where the government steps in and say, hey, you know what? If you're going to be on welfare, you can't drink anymore. Or if you're going to be on the welfare, you can't buy yourself that brand new shirt. I mean, where does it end?
Well, shirts are in particular not what I would consider to be inappropriate.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Is it clearly an item for, fun that has no, it has you can get calories from alcohol, but it's not a nutritional source.
Yeah,
so
no.
I don't think that alcohol is even registered on welfare, but like food stamps.
Yeah.
So the government already does it.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
no, this is exactly what happened.
Drink.
Yeah.
And when you're serving in an official capacity, you can't drink. You can't buy food stamps. You can't use food stamps to buy alcohol.
Okay. No.
No.
I kind of get what you're getting at there. Okay. Let's say they buy a DVD.
A DVD.
Yeah, a movie.
Okay.
Let's say they buy a movie. While they're at the...
What about it?
Okay. Maybe DVD wouldn't be the best way to go. Let's make it a bit more expensive. Let's go with a necklace. Like $100 necklace, okay? You're sitting there in the line at Walmart, okay? Person in front of you is, let's say he's buying, food with his EBT card or whatever, using WIC to pay for the kids' formula, and then has this $100 necklace sitting there. And he rings that up and pays for that out of his own paycheck that he earned that day because he wants to give his wife this nice present.
It's up to him.
Yeah, you're cool with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Why wouldn't I be okay with a person who earned money spending it on something that to improve the relationship with their spouse for whatever reason?
Yeah, no.
I mean, one thing if it was a frivolous item that, 1,000 gold chains around the neck, for no reason at all.
Okay, hold on. All right, let's say he's buying 1,000 gold chains. I'm sorry, I'm keeping this too much in reality because I'm trying to bring up the point here that I don't care what they do with the money that they receive from the government.
And that's the problem.
I want to have that safety net for people who are going to be willing to do those things. to save their life.
The money isn't theirs. That's the problem.
The money is theirs. The government gave it to them. Don't ever.
The government gave them money that was taken from other people.
But the government still gave. No, the other people gave the money to the government, and the government took that money and gave it to someone else.
The government demanded the money from them.
Yes.
They go to jail if they don't pay it. Do you agree with this?
Well, in this country, the way taxes work is money is taxed, people aren't taxed. So if you don't want to be taxed out the wazoo, then just don't make that much money.
What happens if you don't pay taxes?
Well, don't make that much money and you'll be fine.
What happens if you don't pay taxes?
Well, you go to jail.
Okay, so you are mandated to pay your taxes.
You are mandated to pay your taxes if you make a lot of money.
If you make enough money.
You make enough money. Sorry, let me rephrase that. If you make enough money, you are mandated to pay taxes. Correct. But might I add, in this country, that's a hard standard to hit for a lot of people. Your average family of five, such as my situation, they don't pay taxes.
I'm aware.
Yes. All right. So most people in America, despite how much they think they do pay in taxes, they really don't.
Just to point out, Bernie's hated 1% pays most of the American
Yes,
tax.
they do. They pay like 48% or something.
Just keep that in mind, Bernie, bro.
Yeah. But they do. That is 100% true.
The people who we're talking about don't pay any taxes.
Yes.
Right? Okay. But then they receive money from the people who do pay taxes.
That's correct.
Do you think they'll ever be able to pay taxes?
But taxes are only required if you make money, basically.
Are you avoiding the question?
Go ahead. What was the question?
Do you think they'll ever be able to pay taxes?
Who? People on welfare?
The people who are the lowest rung.
I think it could happen in the future. I think it could happen before. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not.
Okay. And then, do you think most of them will?
No. In reality, no.
Yes. So, the potential to rise among the ranks is possible.
Yes.
But most people, like 50% of the United States, will never pay taxes. But they'll receive most of the money.
Yes.
That's not fair. So, that's not fair because we're not deciding who we're giving the money to. At the very least, we could do that. Like, if the government mandated that you had to give away a certain amount of money to a charitable organization that did these things, that would be better than the government taking the money from us.
But the government is going to take the money from us no matter what. First off, that's like a big thing that you're missing here, because the government still has to pay for things.
No, I understand that.
They got to still pay for essentials.
Programs.
Yeah,
we're talking about specifically.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Okay, so to be clear, it would be better for us to be mandated to pay whatever money they're going to take for welfare.
But the way our government is designed is it's supposed to be blind to those types of situations.
Which is why
everyone is equal in the government's eyes, no matter what.
Which is why that's not true.
It is true, though. I mean, that's the way our government's been designed.
It's not true, because the immigrants and people who are obviously not making that much money are visible to the welfare program, and people who are not doing those things are invisible to the welfare program.
Yeah, but that's based on how much money you make. I mean, that's what the government looks at.
You said everyone was equal. So
everyone is equal. There's no difference based on your choices in life.
No, the welfare program will never correspond with the people who are in the upper echelon. They'll never run into each other.
Oh.
So there's no equality there.
Okay. If you're speaking from an economic sense, you're right. But it's not like... I'm trying to think of a good way to explain this. So, like, if the government does something for one group of people, it has to be available for everyone. So if welfare is available to, families that are just struggling to get by, it's also got to be available for the drug addicts. It's also got to be available for the drunks. You know what I mean? Hello? Did I lose you? I may have legit lost you. You look frozen. Oh no, I'm all by myself. I'm all by myself. Shit. What to do? What to do? Hello? Hello? Hello out there? Hello out there? Can you hear me? Alright, well. As you can tell, we got way off topic there. Like, amazingly off topic. Like, that was ridiculous. So, either we'll be back or we won't. Peace out, guys.